Hey, welcome to part 3 of this introduction to budgeting. And if you haven't watched parts 1 and 2 already, please feel free to check those out should you want to. Okay, not so long ago, budgeting was very hard work because it all had to be done by hand using pen and paper and brain power. These days we're really lucky because we all have access to technology, which I assume you do if you're watching this video, and most of us on our computer have a program called a spreadsheet, something like Microsoft Excel, which is really ideal for this kind of work. So if you look at the picture here, I've set up a sample spreadsheet and we've just got a column there for income and for expenses, and all the spreadsheet's doing is it's adding up the two totals, and down at the bottom, which I've highlighted in yellow, it's finding the difference between the two. So if this was a real example, this person would be quite happy because they actually have some money left over at the end of the week. And if you look to the left of the screen, I've written out the formulae that I've used just to add up the figures and to find the difference, and as you can see, there's nothing really scary about that. It's just straightforward formulae. Now the nice thing about a spreadsheet is that it's very easy to change the information here. For example, if you're lucky enough to get some more income, or if a new expense comes along, you can just make that one change and everything else will update itself. Now if you'd like to download this sample spreadsheet, please go to our website and that will be available for download from there. What we've done here is a really simple example, but spreadsheets are very powerful pieces of software and they allow you to do much more sophisticated things like what-if analysis, which is where you can take an imaginary situation and say, what if this was to happen? How would that affect other things? And spreadsheets are a very easy and powerful way of playing around with things like that. Okay, so if you've been following along up to now, you should have a result showing either that your income is more than you're spending, in which case you should be smiling, or possibly that you're spending more than you have coming in which case maybe you have a sad face like the one at the bottom. Well, even if you're in the latter situation, that you're spending more than your income, don't feel too sad because you've already taken the first step by at least identifying the problem, and possibly along the way you've found some ways that maybe you can cut costs or even make some more money. Now, if you are in this situation where you're spending more than you have coming in, basically there's two things that you can do to improve things. The first one is that you can try to increase your income. For example, asking for a raise, looking for a better job, or working more hours. That can either be within your current job or by taking an additional part-time job. The second one is that you can try to cut your spending. And as I said, we've already identified the things that you're spending on, so you have the information that should allow you to try to find ways to cut back or to eliminate certain expenses. For example, if you have insurance or other bills, perhaps you can find a cheaper alternative. Internet comparison sites are a great way to quickly check you're getting the best deal. Or, if you'd rather stick with a current provider, you can always give them a call and see if there's any kind of discount available, especially if you tell them that you're thinking of moving. Often they're willing to reduce their prices. Okay, this next one I've entitled Jam Jars and Envelopes, which is a very old-fashioned way of budgeting, but it works. This is something that possibly your grandmother may have done, and before the days of computers and before the days when bank accounts were so common, people used to allocate their money each week or each month to certain budgets, and they may have kept that money in envelopes or jam jars and perhaps labelled them food, phone, gas, etc., etc. And as I say, it's old-fashioned, but it does allow you very easily to see which envelope has enough money in and which one runs out before the end of the week. So it's a very good way of identifying when you need to make changes. Now, if you want to, you can get some old jam jars and envelopes and do exactly what we've illustrated here. But probably what you'll want to do now is to open a bank account or use your existing bank account, but from that money in the bank account, actually work out what that money's for. So if you have, say, £100 in your bank account, you might want to keep a record, perhaps on computer or even in a pocketbook, and of that £100 you might want to allocate, say, 50 to food, £30 to gas, and £20 to your phone bill or whatever. But at least then you're knowing which budgets are under control and which ones you're tending to overspend on, and you can take any necessary action. Possibly you need to increase the amount of money allocated to one particular budget, taking it from one where there tends to be an excess of money, or you have to look at ways of reducing that expense. Now, if you've been following along so far, you should now have a very clear idea of what your budget is, and you should have a very clear idea of any actions that you may need to take to improve things. But budgeting is a bit like flying a plane or steering a ship. When you do these things, you set your course, you point the vehicle in the direction that you want to go. But it's not just a one-off operation. It's something that you need to keep checking and keep making adjustments. So, having gone through the process once and made some plans and adjustments, that's great, but it's something that you need to keep doing from time to time, possibly every month, every 3 months, whatever suits you. Well, that brings us to the end of this introduction to budgeting. I hope that I've been able to give some helpful advice, and what I've said will help you to get your own finances in order and to get your finances working in the way that best suits you. Please go along and check out our website, where I've got some more information and notes covering what we've talked about here. Thanks for listening.